Hello, Buckeye Nation. There sure was a lot of red in the stadium at the Buckeyes' last road game of the regular season. The Buckeyes walked out with a crystal clear win, but the end of that game made me nervous, and not for the regular reasons. Let's talk about that and take a look at Indiana after the intro. Welcome to Buckeye Football Fangirl. If this is your first time here, my name is Lisa, and I'm the gal behind this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and for the gift of your time. I deeply appreciate each and every one of you, and I've been having so much fun interacting with everyone on here throughout the week and on the OHIO podcast live watch party during the games. You all keep that watch party chat rocking, and I want to give a huge thank you to anyone who's joined us on there. Definitely check it out for the Indiana game if you haven't yet. I unfortunately won't be a part of it this weekend because I'll be watching the Buckeyes in Ohio with my dad and with my son, but you better believe I will be chiming in on that chat. I am so excited to be watching this game from Ohio this coming weekend. There is not much better than catching an Ohio State game while in the beautiful state of Ohio. But before we get to talking about that Indiana game, and trust me, we will, let's talk about that Northwestern win. The Buckeyes had another slow start. Surprise, surprise. I know we should be used to it by now, but I can't help but go into every game hoping that they will start out focused and ready to play, only to be let down by a slow beginning. Even when Northwestern was leading 7-0, I wasn't really nervous about the outcome of the game because I knew that the Buckeyes were going to win, but it was still frustrating seeing both the offense and the defense struggle to make anything happen at first. But perhaps the most frustrating part of that entire game came at the very end, and this is the part that I referred to earlier as making me nervous. It was the fact that they didn't take the starters out until well into the fourth quarter. I know on the live watch party, we were all pulling our hair out and getting so upset because we knew the risk of leaving people in was too big. It's just not the worst of risking a potentially career-ending injury from any of the starters, and it's not fair to them. We need them if we're going to be making any kind of playoff run. And even before we get to the playoffs, we need this team to be healthy and to be able to play their best games over these next 2 weekends just to get to the playoffs. Especially after seeing Jeremiah Smith limp off the field, it was even more evident that leaving the starters in was just not a good idea. Thank goodness there were no serious injuries that we are aware of, and that everyone seemed to come out of that game relatively unscathed. All right, let's talk about some of the positives because there were some really great moments in this game. Perhaps the most moving story to come out of this game was the fact that Carnell Tate had a spectacular homecoming in his home city. It was so special watching him make those crucial plays on the field and finding his way into the end zone not just once, but 2 times. As a Chicago native who has endured a family tragedy and heartbreak with the loss of his mom, it was so incredible to see his shining performance this past Saturday. I love that we got to see him have such an incredible game. Another fire performance that we got to witness on Saturday was that of a defensive player who has had his moments of struggle throughout this season, but he seems to be taking the next step into his new role. Sonny Styles played a phenomenal game this past Saturday. He stepped up in major ways, making tackles when they were needed, and as I've heard others say about his play, he really seems to be playing less with his head these days and more with his heart. He's hesitating a lot less before diagnosing where he needs to go, and it just looks like the linebacker position is coming so much more naturally to him than it was before. I also want to take a moment to talk about those 2 botched snaps from Northwestern. Those 2 snaps that went wrong was what really started the Buckeyes on their trajectory of putting the game away. That first one, which led to a fumble and brought it to 4th down, was exciting. And then the pandemonium continued in the next play as the punt went over the kicker's head. And while there was a little confusion on the field about what to do, the end result was a blocked punt and a phenomenal field position for the Buckeye offense. This was one of those examples of Northwestern shooting themselves in the foot, but I'm not complaining, and I'm so grateful that the Buckeyes capitalized on it. I'm curious, what were your favorite moments from the game on Saturday? What did you like? What did you not like? What would you consider to be those good, those bad, those ugly points of the game? Go ahead, Drop me a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, now let's turn our sights to the game that we have all been anticipating for several weeks now, Indiana. Indiana rolls into this game with a surprising undefeated record. This has been the talk of the season that nobody saw coming from Indiana. With a new head coach at their helm, the rest of the country figured that Indiana wouldn't be able to do a whole lot this year. But boy, were we all wrong. Curt Cignetti, the new head coach for the Indiana Hoosiers, brings a solid track record and a reputation as a turnaround specialist. Before joining Indiana, Cignetti achieved impressive success at James Madison University, leading them to an 11-1 record and a top 20 national ranking in only their second season in FBS play. At JMU, his teams were known for their defensive strength and efficient quarterback play, qualities that he has aimed to carry over to Indiana. His experience spans from smaller programs like Indiana University of Pennsylvania to bigger stages as an assistant under Nick Saban at Alabama, where he really honed his recruiting skills and helped bring in some high-profile talent. Taking over an Indiana team that has struggled in recent years, Cignetti faced the challenge of rebuilding the roster, particularly through the transfer portal, and upping the recruiting efforts. Indiana's roster suffered from key player transfers, so his early efforts focused on retaining as much talent as he could and then attracting some of these new players and transfers in to build a competitive team. And so far, his energetic mentality has brought much needed success to Bloomington with an Indiana football team that is performing far better than anyone could have predicted. The 2024 Indiana Hoosier football team has brought in 17 transfer players, with one of them being starting quarterback Curtis Rourke. Rourke, a veteran transfer from Ohio University, took on the starting role this season, and he is known for his leadership and his impressive stats from his previous seasons, including over 7,000 passing yards and a strong completion rate. He is a pocket passer, and he has racked over 2,400 yards already this season at Indiana. His extensive experience has really elevated the Hoosiers' offense this season. However, a thumb injury temporarily sidelined him back in late October, which then allowed Taven Jackson, the backup quarterback, to step in. Jackson has also shared this quarterback spotlight with Rourke this season, and as a redshirt sophomore, he stepped up and took over for Rourke during his recovery. Jackson is a dual threat quarterback, and his performance was solid when he needed to play. While we will be seeing Rourke starting out on the field first, there is a small chance that we might see some of Jackson too during the game. Indiana has a transfer running back from Wake Forest, Justin Ellison, who brings a wealth of experience and a powerful, selfless approach to the Hoosiers' backfield. Ellison has been known for his strong rushing game, and he has logged 3 seasons at Wake Forest of over 500 yards. He has almost 700 yards this season and already has 9 touchdowns. While he's not as involved in the passing game, he has made a significant impact as a rusher, focusing on teamwork and collective success over his individual stats. The other half of the running back 1-2 punch at Indiana is Tyson Lawton. He has amassed 500 yards already this season and also has 9 touchdowns. Wide receiver number 1, Elijah Surratt, is a junior wide receiver at Indiana University who has quickly become a pivotal part of the Hoosiers' passing offense. Known as Waffle House for his reputation of always being open, Surratt has been a reliable target, contributing significantly to Indiana's strong aerial game. His consistency has him on track for a standout season, and he has logged almost 700 yards through the air this year. Originally transferring from JMU, Surratt joined Indiana as a seasoned receiver with playmaking ability and a knack for winning those one-on-one battles against defenders. His presence has really had a cascading effect on Indiana's offense, opening up opportunities for other receivers and making Indiana's passing attack one of the most respected in the Big Ten. His collaboration with Rourke has been a highlight for the team, with Rourke often looking to Surratt in high-stakes situations, and even when Surratt isn't targeted, his presence really keeps defenses on alert. Wide receiver number 2, Omar Cooper Jr., is a redshirt sophomore, and he is known for his strong hands and his route running skills. He's racked up over 500 yards through the air so far this season, and is another crucial part of this Indiana offense. Our cornerbacks really are going to have their hands full this Saturday, as Indiana's receivers are no joke. Linebacker Aiden Fisher is known for his strong tackling ability ability, and he leads the Indiana defense with 98 tackles. He's another transfer from JMU who has been praised for his leadership and defensive instincts, anchoring a team that has seen a significant infusion of talent from JMU. Fisher credits Coach Cignetti's competitive and focused approach as a key factor in his own development and his transition into the Big Ten. His strong character and on-field abilities have really positioned him as one of the most dynamic linebackers in the conference this season. Defensive lineman Mikael Kamara is an extremely disruptive force on the field, and he leads the Big Ten in sacks with 9.5 and tackles for a loss at 14.5. His consistent ability to disrupt offenses has positioned him as one of the top defensive players nationally, even earning him a spot on the semifinalist list for the Chuck Bednarik Award, which honors the nation's best defensive player. Sophomore defensive back Amari Farrell is emerging as a key player in the Hoosiers secondary, and he has a knack for making interceptions. He has 4 on the year already. Known for his versatility and size, Farrell plays a very important role in pass coverage, especially in his rover position within Indiana's defensive scheme. Indiana has a balanced offensive attack coupled with a defense that has consistently pressured opposing quarterbacks and has helped position their team as a strong competitor, and it will not make it easy for our Buckeyes on Saturday. Transfers have played a huge transformative role in Indiana's football success in 2024, and they've really reshaped that roster and have enhanced both their offensive and defensive capabilities. And as we've witnessed, this Indiana of today is not the Indiana football team of yesteryear. So how are you guys feeling about this game that we have coming up? What are your thoughts on how Ohio State matches up against Indiana? My personal opinion is that this is going to be an incredible matchup between two highly talented teams. I predict it's going to be a very close game and that there will be moments that Indiana will really test these Buckeyes. I highly doubt it's going to be like the games these past 2 weekends where we were able to just kind of relax because we already knew that the Buckeyes were going to walk away with the win. I think it's going to be a nail biter this weekend, one of those games that just makes you nervous all the way from the time the ball kicks off until the final second ticks off the clock. I know the Buckeyes have it in them to win this game, but they will need to play clean football. They will need to get out to a faster start than they have recently, and they will need to play a full 4-quarter game if they are going to get this done. More than anything, though, I am just excited for this game. I'm excited to get to watch it from the great state of Ohio, and that I really get to soak this up with my dad and with my son. Whatever the outcome, make sure that you enjoy this one because we only have 2 regular season games left, you guys. This season's flying by at a breakneck pace, and this team has been incredible to watch. We are all so lucky to be fans of the best football team in the universe. All right, that's all I have for you this week. I'll see you on the other side of the game. OH.